Hello, everyone. My name is Gus.
Hi, I'm Woody.
And today we're back because we have been... Wait, what are you doing?
Huh?
What are you doing?
Oh,
Why are you flexing?
no, I'm just relaxing, stretching.
That's weird
Shirts
because
are tight a little bit on me.
I actually don't...
feel
now
like-
that you mentioned that, I actually don't think I've ever seen you wearing a short sleeve shirt ever.
Yeah, no, it's a nice shirt.
You told me you started working out like 3 days ago, and now you're
Well, yeah.
flexing?
Yeah. Well, 24 hours ago, I decided to lift, and
That
Sure,
is
I'm just saying-
ridiculous.
no, I'm just saying it's a little
Yeah.
tight.
Yeah, okay. But the reason why we're here is because we haven't released a video in a while, but that's because we've been busy. I was in Cozumel. We went to a cave exploration, which you were originally coming, but you couldn't because you were in the shape of a pretzel 30 days ago.
That is true.
Bent out.
I was all.
But you did go diving after a while. Mild diving, but you
Yeah, mild.
did
I
that.
went with Doug. It was great. We waited the appropriate time. As you know, I've done all the tests and so forth. It went great.
Yeah.
No issues, by the way. Zero DPV, 130 foot max.
Yeah.
Zero issue. But
That's
do
awesome.
you think I hydrated? Like gallons. Right? But by the way, I know we're getting tons of emails.
Yeah.
I promise we're going to follow up with the Dan episode.
We haven't met with them.
We haven't met with them. Waiting on a few more things. But it does sound like they're doing some nice things. So
Yeah.
stay patient with that. I think they are making some really good, appropriate changes.
Yeah. So for this episode, I thought it would be a good idea if I pulled some of the footage from Cozumel, from the cave exploration,
Cool.
and kind of talk about what's happening. You haven't seen this,
Awesome.
but I pull it out. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to show you the entrance to this cave that I told you I want to take you to.
Please, can you take me?
Right. I cannot wait
I
to go
want to go.
So here's the story with this cenote. So we went to Chunha, which was the cenote that we went to last year.
Okay.
Woody and I did an exploration trip last year to Cozumel, and we dove in this cenote,
Yes.
which was, if you remember, it was kind of nasty to get in. There was like bacteria
Whatever
everywhere.
was floating did remind me of sewage.
Right. But we survived. So we went back there. So the first couple of days, we lay line there. I actually got to the end of line, which you laid last year, and then
Wow,
laid
you-
like hundreds of feet more.
You got to that
Yeah,
spot?
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
that's unbelievable.
Yeah,
Did
yeah.
you see how far it
Yeah,
kept going?
yeah,
Just
yeah.
like I know. Was it
W-
kind of like if you were looking at where I finally tied off, you kind of go up and more to the left, right?
It was left.
and
yeah.
it's like gone.
Yeah. So the end of the line was marked by W8. I still remember W8. And I tied up from there and just went for hundreds of feet. So
Do you think it keeps going even further than where you went?
Yeah, and it goes in all directions, right?
Okay.
And it was, so I left behind my first kind of legacy in that cave, and I'm not proud of it. The reason for that was the place where you left the end of the line and the fact that it went in all directions. So I started laying line everywhere. Like everywhere I saw a lead, I would just lay line. Lay line.
Yeah.
The problem with that is because I wasn't really thinking. Every marker that I left behind was a cookie, which is a non-directional cookie that doesn't tell you where the exit is. So when you lay a spider web worth of line in all directions and the only markers you have is cookies, well, that's a problem. Right?
Oh, man. Did you get yourself confused?
So I was paired up with John Littlestone, who's a legit cave explorer. I'll never be as good as John. I'm glad because he was amazing, right? To have as a buddy. And because I was the one laying line and John lay line too, I was familiar with the landscape of it, I'm
Okay.
like, okay, I remember this stalagmite. I remember this, I started remembering things. I did find a crystal thing, which was cool.
Nice.
And I was really, really happy about that. And I got to survey the line because I had this thing where they say, if you don't survey the line, it didn't happen. So I'm like, okay, John, teach me how to survey because I want things to count this year.
And you can name it if you survey, right?
Right,
I
right.
think.
Right. So it looked like crystal rain. It was really, really cool. I laid the line to it. I mark it with G10. And so it's there next time we go. But the point is, I remember on the way back, I would be following all these G cookies And like I got out. The problem is we didn't survey all of it. So then Mike and Randall went back the next day to finish surveying, and they got completely lost. It was like cookies everywhere. Like, is it left here, right there?
I
Like,
can imagine what they said to you when right? Did they give you?
oh my god, dude! They came out and they were like, I gotta talk. Mike pulled me aside. He's like, I gotta talk to you about line etiquette.
Oh my god!
And I'm like,
but Gus,
right,
I want to learn. So
Yeah.
when you're doing that, how often are you supposed to put in an arrow that's pointing to the exit? What should you have done?
okay, so if you are not interested in cave exploration, just fast forward through this.
I want to know.
Okay, so here's the way it works. So when you're cave exploring, you typically go in teams of 2. And unlike cave diving, where number 1 and number 2 in a team have their own roles, in cave exploring, the roles change a little bit. The first guy is laying line, typically. So he's looking for leads, looking for places where the cave goes, which it sounds simple until you do it, and then you realize that you don't know where to go. The first time somebody
really hard.
hands you the reel and says go, you're like, where?
I did go,
Right.
and I line trapped myself within 10 seconds.
You're so used to being in a cave with line that
very
you're like,
true.
I don't know where to go.
That's true.
Right? So anyway, that's guy number 1, the lead in the team.
Okay.
The second person's job is to look for leads off the line that was
Yes,
laid.
I remember that. Yes.
Right? So what happens is when you're laying line, and you'll see in some of the videos that we're
Looking
going to
like
review.
left and
Yeah,
right. And
you will get to a place where it will be like a Y, or it would split into 3 or 4. So as a diver, you have to pick one, the one that looks more promising. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to go left. So the person behind me, in this case, John, he would lay a marker saying, come back
back to
here
that,
because there's other things to explore. So anyway, when John was laying line, I'm dropping cookies. And I follow this system that I came up with. It's probably not the right way to do it. But I have all these cookies marked with numbers. So I will use even numbers to go right. Like if you find an even cookie, the passage that I saw was to the right.
Okay.
And if I use an odd, it will be left.
Okay.
That's how I did it. So I'm laying all these cookies, G6, 7, 8, 11, like all this stuff all over the place because there's leads everywhere at Chunha. And then Mike and Randall went in, and it was just numbers everywhere. So every time you saw a lead. And then when we came back to explore those leads, you would tie into your cookie and then go into the tunnels, you know? So when they came back, he was like, I got to talk to you about this.
So that's what I'm asking.
Yeah.
So what should you have done instead? When should you put the
arrows
every time going back?
Yes.
That's
so
it.
From now on, it's like just use arrows. If we see 8 arrows in a row telling you the exit is that way, then that's not a problem. That's okay. So use arrows from now on. And that's what I did after that conversation. But anyway, the point is they survey my spider web of line and they named that Gus's Labyrinth. So now...
Well, that's kind of cool.
No, it's not cool.
I mean, there's something named after you.
So now if you look at the map of Chunha...
Is it, by the way, a labyrinth?
Oh, it's a disaster. It looks
I
like
wanna
a
see.
maze.
I really want to see.
Oh man, it's like a maze. It's a complete
But
disaster.
did you know you were just when
No,
you were
I'm
doing it? When you were doing
No.
it, did you realize you
No,
made a
I'm just-
labyrinth?
No, I'm just going in tunnels left and right and laying line all over the
think that's
place.
funny.
And then when I see the map, I'm like, oh no. And it says Gus's Labyrinth. And it's like just lying
hilarious.
everywhere. And I'm like,
Okay.
oh. Anyway, so after that, after Gus's Labyrinth was in place, they say, hey, there's this other cenote called Cenote El Diablo. Badass name. That we discovered a couple years ago, and nobody really has been back, and there's a ton of line to lay in there. Like, you should go. We haven't found the end. You should go. So they sent me and John, and then there was another team, which was, I think, Kyle and I don't remember if it was Gail or somebody else. There was like 2 teams. And so my job on that dive, Cenote El Diablo, which is where I want to take you, first of all, to get to it is in the jungle. Mexican jungle. It's a hole in the ground surrounded by poison trees. By the way, Jose was like, do not touch any of these trees. It's like you're going to have rashes everywhere. Like, do not touch them. So he said it's poison ivy on steroids, whatever that is. So Mexican poison ivy.
And being the jungle survivor that I am,
you are, yeah.
I probably
Bad.
5 minutes destroyed.
And the funniest part was Gail carrying tanks, just touching every tree, and I'm like, Gail, no.
Her legs and arms
Well,
just
it's either
rashed
that
up.
or it's either that or fall and die. So, but anyway, so we find this hole. It stinks. It's terrible. It's worse than chunha. All right, and he's
Wow.
like, you go that way. There's a line in there somewhere. The water was zero vis. Walking into it, zero vis. It's just a mud hole. Terrible. I'm like, who goes in here? Who saw this and said we should go dive in here? Nobody. First of all, how do you find it? It's in the jungle.
Mike likes
Yeah.
those things.
So anyway, so we go in there, and I go in first in the water, and my job was to find the line. Like, where is the line? We don't know. It's a mud hole. So I'm just touching everywhere, whatever, found the line. And because I carry four lights, I can afford to leave one behind. So I tie one of my lights into the line. I put it in like the lowest setting and just left it. So at least we can see some shimmer
Yeah.
of light. Okay, the line is over there. And then they tell us, Herman, who is like,
Yeah.
you know, the conservation, whatever in Cozumel, Herman tells us, look, when you're going in, you're going in zero vis. You have to have the line on your left hand. If you have it on your right hand, you'll die. And when you're coming out, the line needs to be on your right hand. If you have it on your left hand, you'll die. Because it's a gnarly line trap that he almost died like last year or something like that. It's like, you have to remember, left hand going in, right hand coming out, or you're dead.
Probably
Okay.
want to remember that.
Right. So I wanted to film the entry to El Diablo just for people watching that wonder what it's like to dive in zero vis.
Yeah.
This is kind of what it is. So
Okay, cool.
it's just the first video is 5 uninterrupted minutes of from the surface to visibility. So let's catch that, and then we'll take it from there.
All right.
Here we go.
Great intro.
All right, so there's the line. So I go over to make sure it's on my left hand on the way in. Remember, I
Or
don't want to die.
death.
Spoiler alert, I'm alive, so I made it clearly.
Is that your light dangling on it?
Yeah. See ya. That's John. And then
They
we
seem
go in.
concerned. They were like,
Yeah.
go.
It's like, why are you even telling me this?
Okay, so that is, everybody take a look at what Gus is looking at.
yeah, and the
which is
camera, by the
nothing.
way, as you know, the camera sees way more than your eyes.
So you're seeing zero.
Yeah,
Just,
no, this is terrible. So right now, just to give you an idea, I'm going in
Are you
with a
going down?
rebreather. Yeah, I'm going down. It's an incline,
Okay.
and I'm holding the line on my left hand, so it's calling okay in the line. So I'm just holding the line, and at some point the line makes a 90 degree. So you're gonna hit it, and you're gonna probably see that I run into the line, and then I transfer, and you go to the right. By the way, Kyle, the guy that was with us, was the one who found the entrance.
Oh,
So
there
here,
it is.
I run into the line, and we make a right. Every time you hear a bump, by the way, is my helmet hitting the
Smacking
ceiling.
something.
It was this big. So
I
you're,
wonder why you would want to wear a helmet.
yeah, and you're dragging yourself in there. But you can see the breathing is
Absolutely.
calm.
Zero viz here.
Yeah, zero is.
But you have the line, so you felt
You
fine.
got the line. Breathing is fine. That's
Wow.
my head just going against the ceiling. No, but this cave, I absolutely loved it. I did 3 dives here, 3 days, and it was awesome. The last dive, 4 hours and 10 minutes.
But can you imagine going in this mud hole
Yeah.
and you're the one laying that line?
Yeah.
There is no line.
Well, that's what I was going to
How
say.
do you do that?
That's what I was going to say. Kyle, who was in the other team, he's the one who found the entrance to this thing.
And he just kept
Yeah.
feeling his way around to lay
just
line?
getting caught and stuck and here and for like 2 weeks they were just trying to get into
Wow.
this thing. Yeah. And eventually he found the path through the rocks. So see, the visibility starts to open and then you're in and visibility is fine. But like the first 3 minutes or so, it's just zero vis.
But just imagine, would you continue? Would you give up?
yeah.
Just smacking into stuff, and you
Yeah.
have to find that little spot. It looks
Yeah.
rather little.
Yeah. To go through. And this cave, by the way, you see is all like jagged rocks.
Yeah.
It's like razor blades everywhere you go. No wonder it's called
It
El
reminds me of
Diablo.
that one
It's
section in the Abacos caves.
Yeah.
There's one I
called
forget-
Badlands.
Badlands.
Yeah, it's terrible. It's like that. So I can only imagine when this thing was dry, just walking through here, you will be dead. Like you, it's
Like,
like
they fell.
it's like walking on barbed wire. It's
Yeah.
terrible.
Yeah, that'll shred you.
Yeah, so you're going in. This is tight too. Like I have the ceiling right above me, so this whole swim is pretty tight.
Is somebody with you right now?
Well, John is behind me.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but you wait like a few minutes
Because it's just
to because you don't want two people entangled, in that zero vis.
What was that right below you? Looks like
Yeah,
a
just
opening.
cracks everywhere.
So all this was in there. All the line I'm looking at was already there.
Yeah, well, this line, yes,
I
but
saw a cookie. That's why
yeah,
I'm wondering.
yeah, this line was there, but we ended up replacing thousands of feet of line.
Was
So
it-
actually, this dive I went into was to replace line all the way to the end of the line.
And have you already hit the halocline layer? I
No,
can't tell.
no, we're still in fresh water here, I think, or maybe no, this is salt water because there's no bacteria. So probably you go through the halocline in the zero vis, and you don't even.
So you're
you don't
probably,
even
what,
see it.
40, 50 feet already?
44 feet, something like that.
Because it's usually around 40 feet. It switches to the saltwater layer.
So then you get to this
Ooh,
restriction
that's straight down.
called a keyhole, yeah. And so you just have to at some point you just commit and go head first. So you'll see right here I just commit. You go head first.
I love that. I would
know.
love to
It's
be
awesome.
in that.
Dude, we gotta go. So you go and you drop down there, and then there's another restriction right after this that's even tighter, but it's straight. You just go straight through it. But man, at the end of the next few days, like my hands were all caught up like bad because all these rocks are like so sharp.
So here people would say, well, why didn't you wear gloves at this point?
Right.
You could. If you're
Yeah,
not doing
but-
a lot of line work, but
Yeah,
if he's
but when
going to
you're
be
doing
doing a
line
lot
work-
of, it's really tough to wear gloves. If he's, so far you haven't done line work, so.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah, it's
Look
awesome.
at that. Oh, I want to be there.
I know. So yeah, so these were the first just 5 minutes of us getting in. And then
That's a cool video.
yeah, it's really cool. So then the cave is like 3,000 feet deep. Oh, let me pause it right here for a second because I wanted to set this up. So it's like 3,000 feet deep. So we stage a bottle like 1,500 feet in or something like that.
Were you wearing it just now?
No, John was bringing it behind.
Okay.
But we stage a bottle. There's a well casing that we found. The initial explorers found, like Kyle and stuff found. Mike was there too. And then we found another well casing that they didn't even know about. When we were like, oh, we passed the second well casing. They're like, what second well casing? He's like, we found out another well casing. Yeah. So in this second clip that I found, so what happens is I get to the end of the line, and then I notice there's more cave. So I lay like 200 more feet of line and onto the new end of line. So when we get to the end of line, so there were, but like I said, John was a much better, more comfortable cave explorer than me. There were several places where I would be laying line and I would get to it and I'll be like, man, this looks sketchy. Like, keep going here is sketchy. So I would always call John and he's like, can you look? And John would be like, just give me that. And just
Really? No issue.
Wreck-It Ralph through it, just like full on. And I discover that if I see someone making it through it, I build my confidence. I'll be like,
Gotcha.
okay, I can. But if I'm the first one, I'll be like, I don't know, man. I don't know if I can do it. And then I see John do it, and I'm like, I'll follow this guy till the end of, it doesn't matter.
And I have to ask this.
Yeah.
Is there any times where you are going to continue?
Mm-hmm.
You could see a path to continue, but you have to break some beautiful things. Did you have any of that going on?
Yeah, but yes, the short answer is
Okay.
yes. But some of it, and you'll see it on the video, it's like you touch it wrong and he falls off.
But I'm saying
Yeah.
there is some damage done to the cave in cave exploration. If you want
Sometimes.
to keep going.
Sometimes, yeah, sometimes.
Because people have asked that.
Yeah, I haven't broken any formations that were like, that I saw it would be like a beautiful stalagmite in the middle of, the cave and just break it to get through. No, I haven't done that. But tying line and things like that, you do break some stuff. And you will see it on the video. I left it all in the video. I don't want to make it sound like you don't touch the cave or whatever. Like, sometimes it happens. But anyway, I get to the end of the line. All right, so I lay like 200 or 300 more feet. I extend the end of the line from the cave. And I get to a place that is like this big. So I go back and I'm like, John, come here. Let me know if we can keep going. So that's what this clip is about.
Okay.
Is looking at the end of the line. So I left this clip too for another reason. One of the things that I do Also, so you see one line is like on the floor, broken and stuff, and then the new line that I laid is above it. One of the things that I'll do too is I will look for alternate routes. Okay, so this is what we're doing here. So you see John is swimming, and my camera, by the way, is angled a little bit too low. You can't really see like
It
the
almost
cave in
sounds like
front.
crickets. Do you guys hear that? Listen.
Yeah,
Isn't that
so
wild? What is
it's-
that noise?
it's weird. So a lot of this cave is on their highway, so you will hear the traffic going by.
That's what's going
Yeah,
on.
yeah. So here we are. So John is swimming to the end of the line. That's the ceiling.
Scraper.
Yeah.
Listen to that.
Yeah. It's like some
Yeah.
cars going by and stuff. Yeah. And it's around this area where the highway is. We mapped it later and we see it
Yeah.
on the map on Google Earth. So we're getting to the end of the line here, and I just want to show you there's a very tight spot where you have to go sideways to get to the end of the line. And I'm like, man, there's this open hole up here on the right. There's no line here. This is just me looking, but I know the line is behind me. And I'm like, I bet there's passage up here because the line goes through this tight hole, you know? And I didn't want to go through it again. Like it was hard for me to get through. Bang a lot of stuff. So you see the line is down there. He goes through that.
Oh,
That's just me getting caught and stuff.
that's hilarious.
All right. So I see, and you can see it goes into like this crack. And I'm like, oh man, I don't know if I want to go through this again.
Boom, right there. You got to
Yeah,
go
that's
in
the
there.
crack. And I went through it the first time and on the way out, of course. But I'm like, I bet there's passage on up here. So I'm gonna go explore. John is going to the end of the line, by the way. I'm like, I bet there's another way to get there. So I go back and I go up there. I'm like, I bet there's a way up here. There's another way to get back there. Maybe this way?
Okay, you got some movement.
Yeah.
Oh,
So I just
bam.
go for it. Bang, yeah. And he's right on the halo climb.
Oh,
Yeah. So I just go and boom, I run into
ah,
John.
there it is.
Yeah. I found an alternate route. By the way, here you see a process that we go through. So when you lay new line on top of the old line because the old line is damaged or whatever, we transfer the original Explorer markings to the new line.
I see.
So we don't just remove people's
if you
arrows. and
got
stuff.
it.
Yeah, as if you're the one. No. Like this was the original Explorer. So I went ahead and tied it back on the line, on the new line. You know, we respect the original Explorers. So that was the previous end of line. So from there, I tied up and I went a few hundred feet. And this is me looking like, I wonder if the cave goes that way or that way. It just looks nasty up there. So anyway, everything from here I laid, it was brand new cave.
Pretty amazing, right? No one's ever been now where he just was laying line.
Right, so this is the Halo
Oh,
climb.
you're right in the halocline.
Yeah. Which, by the way, I had to survey this thing. I didn't include the survey footage, but I will include all of the footage for members. We're going to release an extended video. It will probably be hours long for members. So if you're interested in watching the whole thing, please consider becoming a member. Click on the join button below.
This is cool footage.
But here we're following the line to the end. And again, I told John, go see it. And I'm just giving him some space here, tightening up my line. It's another.
Was that you doing that?
Yeah. I'm tying this up. And I'm just waiting for him. Which is hard to see. And what I was saying is I had to do survey in the halocline. You can't see anything. I'm like, what? How deep? I don't. It's so hard. So while he's back looking at the end of the line, I'm looking for alternate routes. Like maybe we can
Temperature
come down
that
here.
I would say that was what 74 to 76
Yeah,
degrees.
it was warm. It was
Not
like
bad.
Yeah, 78 or something. It was nice. I was wearing a 7 mil, and I was zero. I didn't even feel the water. It was that good. Yeah. So anyway, I go back to the line, and John should be on the way back. after he looked at the end of the line. And here's where we had a little miscommunication. Okay, I'm going to go in deeper because...
Isn't it amazing that some people are looking at this and you know they're going to be like, there is no way I would ever want to do it. And we're like, I can't wait to get there.
I cannot wait to go back, yeah. So I'm like, okay, let me go find John because he's taking a while. And it was so tight in there. I'm like, he might be stuck. Like, I don't know. I get to John, he's like, this is good. It goes. It goes? Yeah, it goes down. And I'm like, do you want to? I'm like, you do it. Like, do you want to? And he's like, no, you go. And I'm like, no, that's... You can hear me. I'm like, okay, that's not what I said. But
so now you're going. Is that
now
right?
I'm going to the end of the line. But mainly at this point, what I decided to do is I'm just going to film it and then show Mike what he thinks. I wasn't ready to go there. It was too tight.
Did he go there?
No.
Okay.
Nobody went. That's sitting out there.
But you know there's something below.
I mean, you'll see it on the video. That's why I left the video here. It looks bigger in the video. So this is the end of the line at El Diablo.
Right there? You're at the end?
Yeah.
I mean, that goes right straight ahead.
Yeah, but
I think. Look. Right there.
It's tight, dude. It looks so much bigger in camera.
Plus,
I know.
It's wide open.
All right, well, let's go.
I'm looking at that.
Okay,
that was like that spot where I left off. Remember? And I'm like,
I'm like, I don't know, man.
Really?
I don't know, man. This looks
why
too tight.
is it tight?
Yeah, I in person it looks way tighter.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm like, Jesus, like you just keep banging your head. It's pretty tight to get there. I do think somebody can make it through, and if I see you going through, or John or Mike, I'll go through it. I'll just
that doesn't look that
power
tight.
through. It is, dude. It is tight.
Like Sidewinder type tight. You're saying
I was in a Sidewinder, and I didn't think
Okay.
I can make it. I mean,
wow.
I think I could
Camera's
make it,
tricky
but
then.
it like Shangri-La type of tight.
I mean, I feel like it's the lips. It's like the same tightness as the lips and Ginny.
I don't know, man.
But I mean, I'm going by the camera view.
I want to take you back.
But you have to
Let's
admit,
go.
it does look like it keeps going there.
Let's go. It does.
I'm
Here's
craving being
okay.
in that spot right now.
Here's the situation there. Arolito, which is a big cenote in Cozumel, it's been explored for thousands and thousands of feet. It's like 300 feet in the map from El Diablo. It looks like you can spit there, but nobody has made the connection. And the reason why, first of all, the reason they think they connect. They are part of the same system. But the reason nobody has made a connection is to get to the end of the line at Arolito. It's like 8,000 feet or something. It's ridiculous. They have to use like 2 DPVs and Uber to get, like, it's so far that nobody really wants to push it that further to connect to El Diablo.
I see.
But the end of the line at El Diablo is only like 2,500 feet or whatever, 3,000 feet. So if somebody's going to make the connection, they told us this. If somebody's going to make the connection, it's probably going to be from El Diablo.
Wow.
And it would be like Explorer of the Year award type of thing, like connecting 2 massive systems.
So
like
8,000, we're going to need a lot of stage tanks.
Well, we're not going to go through Arolito. We should do it from El Diablo.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. El Diablo is not open to the public, by the way. You have to get a permit, which is what we have. We had a permit through Herman to be able to explore it. So nobody should go there to try to connect the systems. Like, you can die, number one, and number two, if you get caught, you'll be in trouble because it's not an open to the public like Arolito is. But, man, I do want to connect those two. I want to find the cave. And on the last day, we found a bigger room that wasn't at the end of the line that I think maybe that's the way to go. It was like a massive room with leads everywhere. Like, I just want to spend a whole week again
sounds
diving there.
Epic.
Oh, it's epic. But anyway, last video. This video shows you what happens when you go back to a lead and you go exploring. So this is me going back to a G cookie, G6, whatever it was, and then being like, okay, we need to go explore this lead. So just me laying line in Virgin Cave. Oh, man, I want to go back.
That's pretty cool.
All right, so here we are back in the line. John is probably surveying behind me, not sure. All right, so here's a cookie that I left on the line.
Okay, so you're going to tie off and go somewhere.
That's right. I found an arrow on the floor. Who knows where it came from? It probably fell from my light. So I'm waiting for John. Come on, dude. We got a lead over here. Come on.
I know how that feels. You're like, I want to go.
Yeah. So once again, based on the number, I knew if it was left or right, you know. I just look at the number and know, okay, I saw something on the left, I saw something on the right. And I did it on purpose because on the way in, you have better visibility. On the way out, you could have some silt, so it will be harder to see. So I'm like, I think it's that way. By the way, I think this video is a chunha, the first cenote, not at El Diablo. But it was another, you know, one of those leads. It was before the conversation with Mike. That's why we have a cookie instead of an arrow. Of course, I'm staying above the line, just looking at other leads and other holes, other places.
Oh, I think I saw a light coming.
Yeah, there's John. So I'm like, dude, look at this. I think that way. Well, here's the line. Go for it. All right, we'll see. So G5 should be to the left.
And just so you know, it's tying into his cookie, which is
Right.
appropriate. And
actually,
off it
I
goes.
learned a lesson. There's a little clip here. I'll point it out later. But now, Mike told me never to tie directly into an arrow.
okay.
And the reason for that is when you tie into the arrow, the line that you tied is going to exercise force in the arrow. So the arrow can point to like between two lines. You don't know where the exit is. And you can see it towards the end of this clip.
Oh,
I
okay.
did exactly that. I tied into an arrow and then I pulled it and the arrow is like pointing.
So you should
somewhere.
put a cookie, you're saying,
No,
and then tie off?
no. Tie off behind the arrow. So when you get to the end of the line, you can feel the arrow like right next to your line, but not exactly on the arrow
But it
itself.
seems like the line could slide the other direction that way.
I mean, I guess so.
That's what I would worry about. But right, if you start drifting, you're just pulling your own line and not even knowing. it.
Yeah, I guess so.
So maybe put another arrow and tie it in between the two arrows.
Yeah, you could.
Like a jump. What a
Yeah,
jump would
like a
look
jump. Yeah. And I did get to do that. Like some of the line I laid towards the end, I would cut back into jumps, and I would put double arrows and leave them as jumps because I didn't want people to go through. I went through some of those, especially by myself. There were a couple that I did by myself that I was like, nobody should ever come through this. Like it's so bad, like really really stuck. Okay, so here's an example. Look, you said, do you damage cave when you do it?
Bam.
It's so brittle.
That was
Yeah.
like sand.
Yeah, it's so brittle. So it's like just tying your line into it breaks it.
So he's looking for
Yeah, looking for another one.
a tie-off spot.
So this one I press with my hand, you see.
And there's no rule here. Like, it's every so often. He just felt like I've gone far enough and I need to tie off.
Right.
Like, there's no magical rule, right? But
Right.
are you trying to lay it in a way that you're putting it out of the way? So not down the middle.
Yes.
You're trying to go low to the right or something like that, right?
Right. And not only that, but I'm also thinking about if I have to survey this line. Like, you don't want a line that, for example, goes over a rock and then it goes down, because how do you survey that? You want it to be at the same depth as possible. And if it's not at the same depth because you're going up or down, at least be in a straight line. You don't want to be like contour a rock or something. Like, you want to be straight. All right, so here I am looking for new cave. Like, I'm just swimming and I'm like, do I go left? Do I go right? Like, I don't know. This is what cave exploration looks like. You don't know where you're going. Just swimming forward. Let's see where we land.
They
That
looked
way?
down like I saw
Yeah.
something.
It's like, no, it's going to be that way. So sometimes you have to wheel yourself back. You know, it's so easy to think this is when you don't know what cave exploration looks like, but it's so easy to think like, well, I can swim like, let's say 100 feet per minute, 30 meters per minute. So that means I can lay 300 meters of line in 10 minutes or a kilometer in this one. Not cave exploring. You go forward and back and left and right and tie something. It's way slower.
It's a maze.
progress
It's
is way
just
slower.
looking. A needle in a haystack. Like,
Yeah.
right there. Like right there. Yes.
I think there's a
Oh,
hole this way.
no.
I actually looked, and it looks like that was the end. So I actually tied up. This is another one, doing line work without being able to see what you're doing. Sometimes you do that. So here's an example. I actually cut this part off because it was just me staring at a rock. But so what I did here is I left. Yeah, I'm like, I left an arrow. I cut the line and I left an arrow. So that's the end of line in that tunnel. But there's more tunnels to go. So I'm just swimming back.
I don't know.
I'm just like, I don't know, man.
You tied off there. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah,
You're on.
No,
It looks like it goes. I just told John.
I'm
So
fine.
I'll try it. So that's that line right there goes to where I tied, and I put an arrow to signify this is the end of it. You know, exit is that way. I'm like, I'm gonna drop a cookie.
Okay.
I'm like, okay. Yeah, probably reaching for an arrow instead. Yeah. So there's my arrow.
Towards the exit.
Yeah. So he's pointing the exit, and then so here you see that I tie directly into
So
an
that's
arrow.
what he
I'm
said,
not doing
don't
that
do that.
anymore. No, I'm not doing that
You're
anymore.
being back of it.
Yeah, behind it. And I hadn't even made the loop, yet. I just finished tying the end of the line,
So you
so
just
I'm
tied it off.
I'm just
Tied,
tying
not-
it right into it, yeah, and then cutting the excess. I'm like, okay, I'm ready to go.
Oh,
20 minutes and then we turn?
Yeah.
Is that what he said?
That's
so you
right.
had a time frame?
Yeah,
You guys planned it back with the other guys?
that's right. Yeah. 20 minutes and then we turn. You heard that right. I'm like, okay, let's
And
go
that's
find some
important
cave.
because the guys up at the surface,
They're expecting
they're
us.
like, what's going on? If you're an
Yeah.
hour late, they may come in and start looking for you.
Yeah. So this is Virgin Cave, right? So we're going in, and I'm looking.
And how long would you say you've been in so far?
The first dive we did here was 2 hours. The second dive was 3.
Yeah. I'd love to see your dive computer, but it
yeah,
keeps
I was
coming in and
hoping.
out of. Okay, you're making some progress. I
No, that was depth.
just
44
missed
minutes.
it.
Yeah.
May have said 74. Oh,
okay.
All right.
what? Go right there. Yeah, think so.
Yeah. So one of the things the guys make fun of me for is that I'm really good at making circuits, like finding my line again and again and again. So here I'm coming, tying into a stalagmite, trying to decide where to go. And then
Back at your line. Unbelievable.
you can hear John laughing. John started laughing at me. So
Okay,
yeah,
well, you got a little circuit there.
I know. I found another circuit.
A circle. Just think about almost like that.
Yeah.
It's just you're basically ending up swimming around in a circle pretty much, and you end up back at your own line. But it's hard to know you're doing that.
Yeah, so imagine you have your line like that, and then you start swimming and exploring,
It says
and then back at the
75
line.
minutes, by the way. I think,
75? Okay.
pretty sure I read that on your computer.
Yeah. So I put an arrow there because now we have an intersection, right? I'm coming. I completed my circuit, and there's a line coming, so I'm like, okay, exit is that way. Let's just put an arrow there. But here's where you get to see the video's almost over. Here's where you get to see what happens when you tie it into the arrow and why Mike was like, don't do that anymore. See how the arrow starts going
Yeah.
like between the two lines?
Oh, tricky.
Yeah. So now you
Now
come back
I
and you're
see
like,
that. Right.
where do I go?
I would not have known that.
Right. So he's like, now you have to start like tracing, like, okay, this was the original line, that one was not, like trying to figure it out. You can't. Like, no. So tie behind the arrow. That way, the arrow point.
Maybe just put another arrow in front of it and tie in like
You
one
could.
more.
Ah,
That's an F-bomb right there.
Well,
I,
sometimes.
I do it all the time.
Yeah.
There's a
But-
lot going on. I mean, you're having it. It's a lot of little intricate work. This is why you don't wear gloves.
Yeah.
No way you could do all this stuff. I think you're doing great, but I mean, I'm no cave explorer, but it seems good. And John, he's just sitting there behind you
Yeah. He's
with
just
the light on it.
supporting me, yeah. All right.
And by the way, the line, the knot that you're tying, would you just call it the old-fashioned knot that we all know?
Yeah. I don't do.
It's just the boom and the boom.
I never understand, by the way.
Is it
People are
just
like,
that? Is it boom and the boom one?
I
Okay.
never- people
Everybody
are like-
knows that knot.
No. People are like, hey, you should. Do you
Did
do
you
a
use a box knot?
Do you do a juggernaut knot on that one?
Yeah.
It's like,
I
I don't.
did
only
the
know
butterfly box.
one. I only know one.
Like, what? And they know every name, and they know what knot you're talking
I
about.
know.
I know this knot,
Yeah.
like the one where you tie your and one more. That's my knot, go-to knot.
That's me. Every knot I make, it's like that. Yeah.
That's so
okay.
bad.
All right. That was
I'm
it.
just glad you admitted that, because I'm like, come on, we only know one knot.
No, I know, but they always talk to me like it's like, oh no, you do a gable nut on that one, and followed by a grambling nut.
Grommet? Absolutely, I did
What
that.
are you talking about?
Of course I did.
Is
But I
that
act,
backwards?
But I act like, me, I'm like,
Yes.
why would I not?
Why? What other nut will you do but a
Don't
gable?
insult me with thinking I would have done a.
Double.
You think I would have done a
double
box
blind
knot
knot.
when I could have done a grommet grovel? Absolutely. We don't know.
Oh
we
my
done one
God.
knot. One knot. That's
We're
very
so
fun.
dumb.
That was good.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that.
But anyway, that's
Even
why
though
we
I
were
wasn't there, I want to go now.
That's
you,
why
you
we
do
were
know
going.
what that makes me.
Now we have to go back.
Because I saw. See, that's what happens.
Yeah.
You think when you're watching the video, they missed it. There's something there.
Yeah.
It's not that easy.
Well, especially the end of the line, man. I
looked like
really
that
think
one.
I really think it goes. We just have to get back there and
Oh man, I think I saw it
have a volunteer draft.
that way.
Do the be the first one. You be the first one. Go for it, and then we'll follow you. It's like once one person makes it and they don't die, I'll go for it.
Thank you.
Right. There's other leads. So anyway, it's pretty fun. But like I
think
mentioned,
on the last video, you may have killed a lot of people. from what I remember. I don't want to bring that up again.
No. Last expedition we did to Cozumel, we actually filmed as well. And I'm going to leave it right here in case you want to check it out. At least Woody was on that one. That was
Right.
fun.
Yeah.
You got to be on the
That
next one.
was
man.
pre pretzel. Can't wait to go to the next one. And
We'll see you on the next one.
everybody.
Stop. That's not.
Stretch.
All right.
I just want to end it with a stretch.